Hi folks, many of you have seen the video I did a few days ago titled When a Church Conference Arises to Appear Like the Illuminati. A couple of thousand people at least watched the WordPress embedded video on our website aminutemidnight.com, plus thousands of others have watched it on YouTube, and judging from the reaction by most people, there was shock when they saw the symbolism in that video from the Arise Church Awake conference in Wellington, New Zealand in July 2018, and I have more information on that now, and I'm going to bring it out here in the second video. Please watch the first video and share both of these videos with as many people as you can. All of these images that you're seeing at the moment come from Pastor John Cameron, who is the lead pastor at Arise Church in Wellington, and they are from his public Facebook page from the conference. I did used to attend Arise Church for 4 years and left there quietly 3.5 years ago. I've never spoken about Arise Church publicly before. In fact, I'd never really even mentioned John Cameron in conversations with people, and yet when people have contacted Arise Church, I believe they have been told, don't listen to me or my video because I have a thing against John Cameron. Which was a surprise to me since I'd never even mentioned John Cameron before, really, to anyone much. I've never had anything against the Camerons or anyone at Arise, and I never intended to publicly say anything about Arise until I saw the symbolism and could not ignore it, and had to bring it out to people's attention, what I'm seeing here. But what has come back to me, the mocking from people at Arise, including some who I once counted as friends, has kind of been a bit of a revelation. And instead of actually looking at the symbolism and going, something's not right here, most of them are choosing to ignore it and attack and ridicule me for having made a video pointing it out. I've pointed out in other videos, as above, so below, and how the use of that symbolism with reflections and so on is a big part of the, well, let's just say, call it the Illuminist agenda. And here we have John Cameron's comment on his Facebook page where he says, in other news, what is it with weird Christians and triangles? I'm fighting the devil, not a three-sided geometric shape. In other words, he's mocking me and other people that have pointed to the symbolism and the occult nature of the symbolism that they used. It's not about a geometric shape, and he should know that if he has any sort of discernment at all, because the Thelma Turge triangle and the pyramid have long been used in occult circles as powerful symbols. The number of people over the last 2 or 3 years who've contacted me who have been ritually abused by people in secret societies who use this symbolism, and from people who were actually assigned as occultists to infiltrate churches, and they recognize this symbolism instantly. And yet John Cameron is mocking those of us who point out the symbolism. The infamous British Satanist, Freemason, member of the Golden Dawn Coven and head of Ordo Templi Orientis, Aleister Crowley, was a devotee of using the Thaumaturgic triangle as a symbol. Crowley used it as one of his emblems, and note in this picture the Eye of Horus in the pyramid and the light rays shown here. Yet Pastor John Cameron states that there is nothing wrong in the symbolism that they used. Incidentally, Aleister Crowley's influence has gone deeply into the music and entertainment industry, and many people have used Crowleyism in their videos and so on. And remember, Crowley's motto was, "Do what thou wilt is the whole of the law." Completely anti-Christian. Aleister Crowley was known as the Beast and called the wickedest man in the world. And note that the Ordo Templi Orientis logo contains the eye in the triangle. Now remember that the Arise conference was called the Awake conference, and they had the logo Awaken, O Sleeper. Well, I want to show you here from page 326 of The Black Awakening by Russ Dizdar. And for those of you who don't know, Russ Dizdar has worked with freeing many people who are mind control victims of the Illuminati and so on, and who have been ritually abused. I'm going to read this excerpt from page 326. There are some chosen ones who have alters, that's like an altered second personality or multiple personalities, who are programmed and trained to seem just like a Christian and be involved in a church. This one, though, would have an assignment to be part of the infiltration of a church. Even if the sub-personality doesn't know the real reason why they are placed in a church, other trained personalities know they are there for sabotage and harm. I do believe some have a major agenda to cause corruption and compromise. They will use some altars to do spiritual warfare against a church and its leaders, and other altars to seek compromise and failure. We must always watch very closely now as they seek to place chosen ones as major public speakers and miracle workers. Remember, counterfeit miracles, signs and wonders will be performed to try and deceive many. See Matthew 24 and 2 Thessalonians 2 for insight. In highly trained and empowered by demonic spirits, chosen ones, the front personality can act like a Christian, while sub-personalities can help unleash counterfeit powers to deceive and harm. And as I say, I've actually also spoken with people who were in that role, were placed in that role in churches. So it is very real. And if those of you who are in Arise are watching this and you are accepting this symbolism as normal and are not questioning the line coming from John Cameron and others, then I suggest now is time that you begin to do so. In the first video, I hadn't actually noticed the 33 being displayed on a person's arm standing behind John Cameron in one of the images, but a number of people pointed that out in the video and it came through in a lot of the comments. So I then began to take notice of that and show it, and that has become one of the biggest things that I've been mocked about by people at Arise, saying, oh, but that person who I have since found out who it is always wears that shirt. Well, I would like to ask, why do they always wear that shirt? And why was it placed specifically in the middle of that image when we know that 33, particularly 33 in a pyramid or in a triangle, is a well-known occult, Illuminati and Freemasonic symbol? I will leave it there. I don't know. Make your own minds up whether it's by accident or whether it was deliberately placed there. But it seems like, well, let's just say, a pretty big coincidence. Okay, so here's another quote-unquote coincidence. Have a look at this image taken from above where you can see, oh, is that a triangle? And we have a person placed on the apex, and then we have two other people strategically placed, well, on the points of the triangle, and in the middle we have a light you can see glowing again, which could easily represent an eye since it's nearly in the middle of that triangle. And John Cameron asked, what's your favourite Arise Conference 2018 memory? I'd love to hear. Comments below, and I'll get to that in a minute. But just remember, the Thelma Turge triangle Satanists will often mark out a triangle with symbols or powered, that is cursed items, to draw in demonic power with items at the 3 points. So, back to looking at the comments that came through. I won't go into too much detail really, but feeling the fire down my fingertips and into my hands and right up my arms when Pastor Russell Evans, who was another one that was speaking at that conference, and I'll talk about him in a minute, was preaching and then learning it was a spirit thing and I wasn't alone in it. God is moving. The worship was amazing too. Something is broken off and so on. And my first thought is, what is the difference between that and the Kundalini spirit that you see coming through in Eastern mysticism? Why does that person assume that it's the Holy Spirit? Could it not also just as easily be a Kundalini spirit? I know the Holy Spirit does move, and maybe the Holy Spirit does move in people in that particular way that they feel those things in their hands and arms. But given the situation here, I would have serious doubts as to what the spirit actually was that is causing these things. Another New Zealander by the name of Andrew Strom has made some great videos exposing how the Kundalini spirit is prevalent in many churches today. I suggest that if you want to find out more about that you watch Andrew Strom's videos. One of the main speakers at the Arise conference was Russell Evans from Planet Shakers in Melbourne, Australia, and he used, of course, the triangle symbolism in his presentations. And I just did a search to find out, because somebody sent me something about Russell Evans and Freemasonry. So I did a little bit of a search and came across this video from Bill Johnson at Bethel Church. Unfortunately, you'll have to put up with a few annoying graphics on the screen and the music, which has been put there by whoever the channel was that uploaded this video. That was kind of beyond my control, and I haven't had time to search for the original.
A dear friend from Australia, we probably have many, but there's one that how many of you have heard of the ministry Planet Shakers? Tell you what, the Planet Shakers is shaking the planet. It's true. There's an earthquake under my feet because of these guys. Russell Evans is going to speak here in January at Jesus Culture. His wonderful wife Sam is here this morning. Why don't you stand up just so that we can all see you and bless you? Would you just bless Sam really good? So glad you're here. These guys are amazing. They have one of the most outrageous ministries. It's just fun. It's just fun to go hang out with, I don't know how many thousands it is now, but it was 5,000 or so radical, fire-breathing revivalists meeting in the Masonic Lodge, which is just perfect. Come on. If you can't have a revival at the Masonic Lodge, where are you going to have one?
Apparently Russell Evans and Planet Shakers rented a Masonic Lodge or hired a Masonic Lodge for 10 years before they got into another building. That doesn't necessarily mean Russell Evans is a Freemason, but I certainly wouldn't feel comfortable being in a church meeting in a Masonic Lodge, and it does beg the question of, did some Masonic influence rub off? Again, I don't have exactly an answer. I'll just leave that for people's own thought processes to work through. Well, there's a lot more I could say, but I think I will just finish off by saying everything Arise does is slick, and it's done to be spectacular and to be amazing and unbelievable. And here's a comment on John's Facebook page by one of the team, I think, that put it together. Amen to that, John. I've been involved in huge budget, amazing corporate business conferences for 25 years, and I can honestly say that what the Arise AV team delivered was second to none. Truly outstanding. Take away the impressive triangular screen backdrop, sensational lighting, media and quality sound, and the way it was so slickly managed, and the whole conference would not have been what it was. Congratulations and thank you, team. So, yeah, maybe that's what it was. A conference that used all the best worldly techniques in marketing and lighting and sound to produce an event that was spectacular and startling and probably had some truth in it, mixed with occult symbolism and no doubt some wrong doctrines as well. So the question would have to be asked, is God really in this sort of thing? Or does he just want us to get back to a simple gospel message of salvation through Jesus Christ without all the trappings and fancy stuff that goes along with these mega churches? I'll leave it at that. More I could have said, more images I could have posted, but I think I've done enough here. So don't forget our website, aminutetomidnight.com. Visit us there, and our YouTube channel, of course, aminutetomidnight.com.